Today we're back on the subject of cheap tools. And today this set of Vevor tools that cost how much? $25 for the whole set? Well, I don't know if Harbor Freight can beat that. Maybe they can, you let me know. So generally Harbor Freight is known for the cheap tools, the cheap kits. And I don't think that they have anything like this. Maybe you could build it out. But I don't recall Harbor Freight having anything like this in particular. And this was probably gotten off of Amazon, but it's a full kit that my video guy essentially just put in his truck. So, you've got an adjustable, it fits all here, a couple of channel locks. We got some needle nose, some not quite so needle nose, some side nippers, die cutters, whatever those are, and your normal pliers right here. And for something that you're going to throw into a truck as an emergency kit or just an everyday kit, certainly not bad. And for $25, even using it one time, if you're stuck on the side of the road and you need to do something and this can help out, that could be worth it. But maybe there's something at Harbor Freight, but what I want to talk about is actually Vevor in general. And this is mostly the direction that the market is going here lately, going to the direct from China style brand. The knockoffs, I don't know, is this a knockoff of anything at this point? Just searching Amazon for Vevor, we got the Vevor lawn sweeper, we got a Vevor jack, a diesel heater, a chainsaw, and tools. They make, or at least brand, a whole lot of stuff. And from back in the day when I had a grow shop, they have a lot of growing supplies as well. Lights, tents, ventilation type stuff, just anything and everything. Vevor seems to be a kind of a everything brand, anything that they can put their name on. So let's look at the chainsaw real quick on here. 25cc 2-cycle for $85. I wonder if that will ship to California. Let's just look. There's 60cc, 119. Even if you only use it 2 or 3 times, that's cheaper than hiring a crew to come out. Of course, your neck's on the line there, and I typically will hire a crew when it comes to doing big work. If it's just, sawing up a little log or whatever, sure. But let's look at this teeny little chainsaw, little cute thing, 12-inch petrol for tree wood cutting. Hey, non-returnable. Hazardous materials regulations. Will it ship to the state of California? Probably not, but maybe so, because California has regulated their stuff extremely tight. A bunch of stuff. Doesn't really matter at this point. But they've got all sorts of chainsaws on here, all sorts of everything. They have is that a purple chainsaw? Oh no, that's Pinkway being advertised. You search for Vevor. The brand is Pinkway, and I don't even know if you can see that. But the chainsaw is not pink, it's purple, which, that's kind of neat and all, but come on. Calling it Pinkway and it's not even a pink one. Do they have a pink one? They don't have a pink one. Well, back to the state of direct from China branding and knockoffs, that's perfect, actually, being called Pinkway and being only offered in purple. So there's only one issue that I see, really, when you're getting the cheap stuff, so to speak. Well, 2 things. One is that the quality may be extremely low, to the point where, like with the Fitsall in this, it may actually round off your bolts a lot easier than a nice one would. And some of the tools of quality just may not be enough quality to do the work, or it may cause damages because of that. Like, let's say we got some cheap drivers. Instead of using Vanquish, MIP, Associated, a good brand of drivers, you can round out and ruin your hardware by using a cheap set. And the same goes for normal hand tools as well. So that is one issue. The other issue is that if we only support the knockoffs or the extremely cheap stuff or the straight from China branded, so to speak, is that we lose our brands and our support that may be within the US. Even if they're getting made in China, having a brand that's located within the US, you're going to support some level of US either designing or marketing arm or customer service or something along those lines at least. when it comes to hand tools like this, maybe there's not a lot of new things that they could do. For example, let's just say normal old channel locks. There's some fancier channel locks out there. There's still patents covering them. But is there really going to be a lot of support that you need for a channel lock? You know, this is something that we're going to have to deal with as a society, especially with tariffs and the way that manufacturing has been going to China, Taiwan. India is on the come-ups for a lot of things. Electric motors, there's a lot of those made in India as well. So are we going to be okay as a society of, hey, they're sending our jobs to China when we're the ones that are buying the things that are sending the jobs to China? Is that going to be a long-term problem, or are we going to be okay with it? Are we still going to be able to make enough money to buy the things that are being made in China if we continuously send all of our manufacturing and all of our dollars essentially to that country or another country besides the U.S.? You know, there's not a whole lot of manufacturing prowess anywhere else in the world at that point, and that's because of us, of course. So, you know, kind of a double-edged sword. It's good to be able to buy something like this. I mean, equivalent, I would love to actually run the numbers and see, you know, in like 1970s dollars, how much this would be equivalent. I mean, this would be like, in 1970 dollars, just like off the cuff here, this would probably be like buying it for $5 or something ridiculously cheap. You know, a few hours of labor, which, you know, this, not even a few hours of labor. At any rate, not the point of this. But this is, of course, not the best quality. But for the value, man, I mean, I would also be tempted if I needed a kit like this. Doesn't matter what the brand is, if I'm only going to need it in an emergency situation. And it's something like, you know, these channel locks to where, you know, if I need to get an oil filter off or whatever, and this is going to reach around that oil filter, then do I really need to spend $25 on one set of channel locks when I could get multiple sizes plus the entire toolkit? Now, I will say, these don't have the smoothest action. It's, okay, that's not so bad. The fully open is they're not gliding very well.
Adjust that bolt?
Yeah, I can adjust the bolt, but it's super loose up here. And as we go lower and lower, you know, I mean, what do you expect for, okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these. That's like $3 and a few pennies a piece. Honestly, I don't even know how they could manufacture that for that and have the case and everything. I mean, are they just like dumping old stuff? Is this like, yeah, these are cast? That means that they actually have molds for all of this. So there's the tooling cost to make them. There's the actual cost of the materials themselves. This is double molded. So we actually have hard plastic here. We have rubber there. So they did, you know, maybe it's drop forged. Maybe it's just cast. Looks like sand casting. A little bit of machine work here. Some laser. The hardware. Let's see if these also. Now these are loose. But then we have a pretty fancy mold. Now, although looking at it, it wasn't, I don't think this was molded in the, like you don't stick this into the mold to make it. It looks like the handles are just kind of shoved on. So it's not like a real fancy mold, but it still is a over molded part. So they have the handle piece and then they over mold it with the rubber. So I mean, this is not bottom of the barrel manufacturing. Is maybe the materials are, but the actual processes, you know, the handles themselves are well made. The rest of it, you know, that's $3 a piece. Geez, well, I feel like I shouldn't be able to complain. But indication of, I suppose, where the world's going. Cheap tools. I'm a sucker for them, especially when it's decent quality or decent enough quality for the price. I'm as all of us are. We are all part of the world economy, and we do vote with our dollars. But like I said, on tools like this, is there really going to be a long-term reason, other than the quality, of course, but is there a long-term reason to support the middleman, so to speak, that could be set up here in the United States? Because are they going to come up with some new ideas for things like this? That's the biggest driver that I see, at least here in the U.S., and especially in our radio control segment that for the majority of all advances are driven either through the U.S. and designers in the U.S. or ideas of the U.S. and then manufactured in China. Of course, almost everything is manufactured in China. But when you get to the point that you're only supporting the cheapest and the knockoffs and all of that, then you're not supporting the segment that is actually making advances in your segment, which in this case, like I said, with tools, are there going to be advancements that we care about? Yeah, probably not. In something like radio control, it actually might be. And if we support this side of it for too long, then we lose the people who are actually creating the new ideas and everything kind of stagnates for a while. And then maybe down the line, somebody comes up with a new idea and they put a patent on it or whatever, and then the market kind of restarts. But it's a cycle that I've seen happen already a few times in the RC car industry. And I'm sure it had already previously happened in the tool industry. Now we're at the point that places like Harbor Freight and Vevor, they've got a pretty good lock on their segment. So, I mean, but for $25, you let me know. Would you get this? Or would you go to Harbor Freight and spend twice or three times as much to build the same sort of kit? Interesting times we're in. Just wondering what y'all think about that. That's maybe a slightly divisive topic. So put your divisiveness down below. As always, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.